My hands shook as I measured out flour, the metal spoons clattering loudly against the stainless steel bowl. I'd baked hundreds of wedding cakes before, but today my nerves were betraying me. This cake was different. It wasn't just another order. I was baking it for Jackson, my ex-boyfriend, the very same man who once told me I'd never amount to anything beyond a small-town bakery girl. I paused for a moment, gripping the counter tightly, trying to steady myself. Memories flooded my mind, making my chest tighten painfully. Jackson had left me years ago, dismissing my dreams with that careless smirk of his, claiming I lacked ambition and talent. And now, fate or irony, I wasn't sure which, had me baking his wedding cake. "You seriously need to cancel this order," Tabitha said firmly from across the kitchen. Her concern was evident as she watched me mix the batter more aggressively than usual. "Scarlett, this isn't good for you." "I can't just cancel," I replied sharply, frustration bubbling in my voice. "Tabitha, this contract could put Sweet Memories Bakery on the map. Do you have any idea how many influential people attend weddings like this?" "Influential people?" Tabitha repeated incredulously, coming closer and placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. "This is Jackson we're talking about. The same Jackson who broke your heart into a million pieces and then laughed at your dreams as he walked away." I closed my eyes briefly, taking a deep breath to regain my composure. The oven timer beeped, and I eagerly turned away from the conversation to pull out a perfectly baked vanilla sponge layer. The sweet aroma of butter and vanilla usually soothed me, but today it only served as a painful reminder of Jackson's favorite cookies I'd baked the night he ended things. "Tabitha, trust me, I remember everything," I whispered, carefully placing the cake layer on the cooling rack. But things have changed. I'm not the naive, heartbroken girl I was then. I own this bakery now. I'm stronger, successful in my own right, and this job, it matters. Tabitha sighed, clearly unconvinced, but sensing my determination. "Fine, Scarlett. But promise me you'll at least be careful. Protect your heart." I nodded quietly, pretending to be confident. As she left the kitchen, I stared at the layers of cake cooling gently, knowing I was stepping into a minefield. Yet, despite the hurt and fear, a stubborn part of me wanted this. I needed to prove, not to Jackson but to myself, that I was more than he had ever believed. The Griffin estate loomed grandly ahead, an intimidating vision of marble columns, pristine gardens, and endless luxury. My stomach tightened as I parked my modest sedan among gleaming luxury cars, each vehicle silently judging my presence. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out, holding my cake portfolio like a shield against whatever lay ahead. "Well, if it isn't our hometown baker," came a condescending voice from behind me. My heart sank instantly, recognizing Chase's unmistakably smug tone. He leaned against the estate entrance, champagne flute already in hand despite the early hour. "Good morning, Chase," I responded calmly, forcing a polite smile. "Still celebrating at breakfast, I see. Some things never change." His jaw tightened slightly as laughter rose quietly from his circle of equally entitled friends. Before he could retort, the sharp click of high heels announced Miranda, the wedding planner, descending the steps with urgency. "Scarlett, thank goodness you're here," Miranda said briskly, guiding me gently but firmly away from Chase's scrutiny. "Let's quickly discuss the cake display area." Inside, the mansion buzzed with preparations, flowers being arranged, linens chosen, and silver polished to a flawless shine. Miranda led me to an ornate pedestal, explaining how they'd position lighting to highlight the cake. "It'll be spectacular here," I assured her, flipping open my portfolio to reveal detailed sketches. I was thinking cascading sugar flowers, something classic but memorable. "Scarlett Young." A voice dripping in superiority echoed through the hall, causing me to freeze momentarily. Sylvia, Celeste's notoriously arrogant sister, approached in a silk dress that screamed money. Her gaze drifted dismissively over me before settling on my portfolio. I suggested Celeste use a city bakery, but she insisted on supporting local talent. "Your sister made the right choice," I replied steadily, fighting to maintain my professionalism. "My bakery has won several awards." I'm confident I can handle this. Sylvia scoffed softly, flipping through my designs with feigned disinterest. Before I could respond further, familiar voices filtered in from the hallway. The roses are non-negotiable, Celeste. I don't care what your mother thinks. Jackson's voice cut clearly through my thoughts. My heart nearly stopped as he entered the room, Celeste gracefully at his side. He paused, visibly startled to see me. His gaze faltered, then quickly turned to a mask of indifference. Scarlett, he acknowledged stiffly. I didn't expect you'd actually take this job. I run a business, I replied evenly, meeting his eyes with more courage than I felt. I know how to separate personal matters from professional. Celeste stepped forward, her composed smile steady, but her eyes curious and thoughtful. Scarlett, your work is beautiful. Jackson and I have heard great things. We're glad you're involved. I blinked, momentarily thrown by the sincerity in her voice. It seemed genuine, a hint of respect behind her polished exterior. The air grew tense again as Chase joined us, deliberately breaking the moment with another sneer. Well, isn't this cozy? He mocked lightly. Scarlett's living out her cute bakery dream. Before Jackson could react, I calmly pulled out my tablet, displaying recent photographs. Actually, Sweet Memories was featured in Wedding Style magazine recently. These are from the governor's daughter's wedding. She was thrilled. A stunned silence settled over the group, Sylvia's brows rising involuntarily. Miranda cleared her throat, sensing the awkwardness. Let's finalize the schedule, Scarlett. As we walked away, I could feel Jackson's eyes still on me. But surprisingly, it was Celeste's quietly impressed gaze that lingered longer, leaving me both curious and strangely hopeful about what was to come. The cafe Celeste had chosen was quiet, tucked away on the outskirts of town, far enough that no one from her social circle would ever set foot inside. As I entered, I immediately spotted her, elegantly out of place in a faded booth near the back. She sat with her eyes fixed nervously on the door, relaxing slightly as she saw me approach. Scarlett, she greeted me softly, her voice barely louder than a whisper. Thank you for coming. I slid into the booth opposite her, wrapping my cold fingers tightly around the warm coffee mug a waitress quickly set before me. I'll be honest, Celeste. I'm not exactly sure why I'm here. Celeste glanced cautiously around the empty cafe, leaning closer as she spoke. I'm asking you for help, because you're the only one who might actually understand. I raised my eyebrows, unsure where this was headed. Understand what exactly? She hesitated, eyes clouded with apprehension, before carefully sliding her phone across the scratched tabletop. Swipe through those documents. Please. Curious but wary, I picked up the phone, scrolling slowly through what appeared to be financial records, eviction notices, and unsettling emails. My stomach twisted painfully as I began piecing together the ugly picture of corruption and deceit that she'd placed into my hands. Your family did this? My voice trembled slightly, eyes locked on images of a demolished community center I'd known well, a place where kids once laughed and played. Celeste nodded solemnly, guilt heavy in her eyes. My father's company systematically exploits people, entire communities, for profit. Jackson's family helps facilitate it, smoothing everything over with their connections. They bury any consequences under money and influence. I looked up sharply. Then why marry him? Why become part of it? She closed her eyes briefly, looking deeply troubled. I thought I could change things from the inside, influence their decisions. But I was naive. This wedding, it's not about love. It's about combining two powerful families to further expand their reach. I sat back, trying to process everything she'd revealed. And why tell me all this now? Celeste took a steadying breath, her resolve strengthening visibly. Because we have an opportunity. On the day of the wedding, the people responsible, the investors, the politicians, they'll all be in one room. It's the only chance we'll ever have to reveal everything publicly. You want me to help expose your family at your own wedding? I asked incredulously, unable to hide the disbelief in my voice. I know how this sounds, Celeste admitted quietly. But you're already involved, Scarlett. They underestimate you, your bakery, your talent. They won't suspect anything from you. You can help me get the proof into the hands of the right people. I stared into my coffee cup, weighing my options. This was dangerous territory. You could lose everything, I whispered. Your family, your fiancé, your entire world. She reached across the table, gripping my wrist gently but firmly. Scarlett, I stopped having a family the moment I learned how they destroyed others. My loyalty isn't to my blood, it's to the people they hurt. My mind raced as I contemplated the consequences. The bakery, my reputation, everything I'd built, it was all at risk. But I couldn't forget those eviction notices, those communities stripped of everything. How could I ignore the truth now that it stared me in the face? Finally, I nodded slowly, determination overtaking fear. I'll do it. Not because of Jackson, or even for you, but because everyone deserves justice, even if it costs us both. Celeste exhaled deeply, relief flooding her expression. Thank you, Scarlett. You have no idea how much this means. I picked up the coffee mug again, trying to steady my nerves. Trust me, I murmured, meeting her gaze steadily. I think I do. Later that evening, Tabitha, Rhea, and I sat huddled together around my bakery's kitchen island, papers and USB drives scattered in front of us. My heart raced, adrenaline fueling my courage as I carefully detailed Celeste's explosive revelation. So let me get this straight, Tabitha said slowly, disbelief etched clearly across her face. We're hiding evidence of corruption in your wedding cake? I nodded solemnly. Celeste gave me everything we need. We just need a safe way to deliver the information without anyone noticing. Rhea picked up one of the delicate sugar flowers she'd recently crafted, turning it thoughtfully between her fingers. Suddenly, her eyes lit up with inspiration. What if we hollow out these sugar flowers? They're strong enough to hide something tiny, like these USB drives. That could actually work, I said, feeling hopeful for the first time. No one would question Celeste inspecting the flowers on her own wedding cake. Risky, Tabitha murmured, tapping anxiously on the counter. But brilliant. Our plan began to form quickly after that. Rhea set to work carefully hollowing out sugar petals, each delicate flower becoming a perfect hiding spot. Tabitha, using her legal expertise, listed reporters we could discreetly contact when the moment was right. Everything was falling into place, yet deep down, I knew the hardest part was yet to come. The following day, I was alone in the bakery, meticulously preparing a new batch of flowers when Sylvia stormed in without warning, making my heart skip anxiously. Interesting, she remarked coldly, pacing slowly around the kitchen, her manicured nails grazing the countertop. You and Celeste have been spending an awful lot of time together lately, haven't you? I'm catering her wedding, I replied calmly, forcing my voice to stay steady. We're discussing cake details. It's literally my job. Sylvia's eyes narrowed sharply as she stepped closer. Don't play innocent, Scarlett. I saw you two at that cafe yesterday exchanging something. Care to explain? I straightened, matching her cold stare. Wedding details, Sylvia. Nothing more. She moved closer, lowering her voice threateningly. Be very careful. Small-town bakeries can disappear overnight, especially ones mixed up in things they don't understand. Before I could respond, the bakery door opened again. My breath caught as Jackson stepped inside, suspicion clear on his face as he glanced between us. Is something going on here? He demanded sharply. Sylvia stepped back quickly, recomposing herself into a mask of perfect calm. Just finalizing cake details, she lied smoothly, her eyes still holding a dangerous gleam. Jackson's gaze settled on me, distrust heavy in his expression. Scarlett, I reviewed the latest cake plans. There's something off about the design. It feels overly elaborate, unnecessary. You approved this weeks ago, I reminded him calmly, sensing his growing suspicion. Everything was finalized by Miranda and Celeste. Well, now I have concerns, he said stiffly. I want to review every step of the cake's preparation personally. I met his gaze, refusing to flinch under the scrutiny. Jackson, it's a cake, not a criminal conspiracy. But feel free, Inspect whatever you'd like. I have nothing to hide. He hesitated, clearly unsettled by my confidence, before turning to leave. Sylvia followed silently, but not without throwing one last, venomous glance my way. As soon as they left, my facade crumbled. My hands shook uncontrollably as I grabbed my phone, urgently texting Tabitha and Rhea. We need to move quickly. They're on to us. Their replies were instant, full of unwavering support. Despite the threats, the suspicion, the overwhelming risk, I knew backing down now wasn't an option. The truth had to come out, and we were the only ones brave, or perhaps foolish, enough to make it happen. I was in the bakery kitchen, carefully placing the last of the hollow sugar flowers into their special box, when the door flew open violently, crashing against the wall. Sylvia stormed in, eyes blazing with fury. My heart jumped, but I stood my ground, refusing to give her the satisfaction of seeing me flinch. I knew you two were plotting something, she spat, striding toward me, heels echoing angrily on the tile floor. In her manicured hand was a photograph, Celeste passing me the USB drive at the cafe. Care to explain this? I swallowed hard, forcing a calm expression. That's private business between me and Celeste. It's none of your concern. Oh, it's very much my concern, Sylvia hissed, stepping even closer, her voice dropping dangerously. Do you have any idea what you're doing? You're not just playing with cakes, you're messing with people who could ruin your pathetic bakery in an instant. The bakery door swung open again, and Celeste rushed inside, breathless, eyes wide with alarm. She immediately positioned herself between Sylvia and me. Sylvia, stop this, Celeste pleaded, her voice firm despite the slight tremble. This has gone too far. Sylvia's eyes narrowed, piercing into her sister. Far? You're about to ruin everything. Our family, your future, everything we've built. For what? Some ridiculous idea of justice. No, Celeste shot back, her voice unwavering now. Because I won't keep living a lie, destroying innocent people just so we can have lavish parties and designer clothes. This family isn't untouchable, Sylvia, no matter how badly you want it to be. Sylvia sneered bitterly, turning back to me. Scarlett, you have no idea what kind of storm you're creating. You think exposing us will fix things? All it will do is leave you ruined. I will personally make sure Sweet Memories never sees another customer. My pulse quickened, fear mixing with anger, but I refused to show weakness. Go ahead, I replied, matching her icy tone. Try your worst. But you're only proving exactly what we're exposing, people like you, thinking they're above consequences. Sylvia clenched her fists, visibly shaking with rage. This is your final chance. Walk away and maybe, just maybe, I'll forget this happened. Keep pushing, and I promise, you'll regret ever crossing paths with my family. Celeste stepped even closer, her presence surprisingly fierce. We're not backing down, Sylvia. Not anymore. Sylvia stared at her sister, disbelief mingling with fury. Then you'll face the consequences too, Celeste. You think our father will forgive this betrayal? You'll be cut off from everything. Celeste lifted her chin defiantly. I'd rather lose everything than spend another day being complicit in what you've done. For a moment, Sylvia simply glared at us, the tension nearly suffocating. Without another word, she turned sharply on her heels and stormed out, slamming the bakery door so hard it rattled the windows. Celeste let out a shaky breath, her bravado fading into exhaustion. Scarlett, I'm so sorry. I never meant to drag you this deeply into my family's mess. It's okay, I said softly, steadying my voice. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about making things right. I quickly texted Tabitha and Rhea. Sylvia knows everything. We have to accelerate the plan. Their replies buzzed back immediately, supportive and decisive. There was no hesitation. We knew we had to act fast. Celeste reached out, gently squeezing my shoulder, gratitude evident in her eyes. Thank you for standing by me. I took a deep breath, gazing at the sugar flowers we'd meticulously crafted, beautiful, fragile vessels carrying the truth that could change everything. We started this, I replied firmly, my voice stronger than ever. And now we're going to finish it. On the wedding day, the ballroom at the Griffin estate was buzzing with quiet anticipation, elegantly set tables glittering under crystal chandeliers. Rhea and I stood beside the grand display table, carefully arranging the towering six-tiered cake adorned with exquisite sugar flowers. Each flower concealed one of the USB drives Celeste, and I had painstakingly filled with evidence. "You okay?" Rhea whispered, noticing my shaking hands. "I have to be," I murmured, steadying myself as I secured another flower into place. "This is our only chance." From across the room, Celeste approached in her bridal gown, her composure flawless, masking any internal turmoil. She paused beside us, gently touching a flower with hidden purpose. "Everything ready?" she asked softly. I nodded subtly. "It's all in place." Before Celeste could reply, loud footsteps echoed sharply. Sylvia stormed into the ballroom, fury etched across her perfectly made-up face. "Stop this madness, Celeste," Sylvia snapped loudly, drawing attention. Guests and wedding staff paused, startled by her tone. "Do you have any idea the damage you're causing?" Celeste turned calmly, her voice steady but firm. "I know exactly what I'm doing. It's time everyone saw the truth." Jackson, alerted by the commotion, hurried in, his face darkening as he quickly assessed the scene. "What's going on here?" he demanded harshly, looking between Celeste, Sylvia, and me suspiciously. Sylvia's gaze flashed angrily toward me. "They're hiding something in the cake. This whole setup, it's sabotage." My heart thundered as Jackson's cold gaze settled on me, eyes narrowing with suspicion and disbelief. "You really went this far, Scarlett?" he asked bitterly. "Couldn't handle seeing me happy?" "It was never about you, Jackson," I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "It's about everything your families have done, everything hidden behind money and lies." Jackson stepped closer, visibly furious. "You don't know what you're talking about. Celeste, stop this before it's too late." "It was too late the moment you destroyed innocent lives for profit," Celeste declared, her voice rising, resonating clearly through the ballroom. "Enough," Sylvia shouted, lunging suddenly toward the cake, determined to prove her point. "I'll show you exactly what they've hidden." I instinctively stepped between her and the cake, but Sylvia's momentum was too great. She shoved past me, her hands grabbing at the cake tiers. The towering masterpiece tilted dangerously, wobbling for one sickening moment, before crashing violently to the floor in an explosion of crumbs and shattered sugar flowers. Guests gasped, some recoiling as fragments scattered dramatically across the polished marble. Sylvia stared in shock at the chaos she'd unleashed, then frantically knelt, digging through the debris. "Where are they?" Sylvia hissed, panic rising in her voice as she crushed a sugar flower, revealing a small USB drive hidden within. Her eyes widened in horror as whispers erupted around the room. "You were right," Rhea murmured beside me. "This is bigger than I ever imagined." Doors burst open again, and uniformed police officers hurried in, accompanied by Tabitha and a group of reporters. Cameras flashed wildly, capturing the chaotic scene unfolding in real time. Jackson turned furiously toward me. "Scarlett, what have you done?" "It wasn't just Scarlett," Celeste interjected loudly, facing her fiancé squarely. "It was me. And I'd do it again. People deserve the truth." Officers stepped forward decisively, cuffing a protesting Sylvia. Others surrounded Jackson and several stunned family members, swiftly reading charges of corruption and fraud. The once elegant ballroom erupted into a frenzy of shouted questions, camera flashes, and disbelief. Tabitha hurried to my side, placing a protective hand on my shoulder. "Are you all right?" I nodded shakily, adrenaline still coursing through me. "Better than all right," I admitted softly, watching as authorities escorted Sylvia and Chase, both furiously resisting, out through the crowds. Jackson followed shortly after, visibly humiliated. Celeste approached quietly, wedding dress slightly torn, sugar dust still clinging to her fingertips. Her face held exhaustion and relief, mingled with an undeniable sadness. "Thank you, Scarlett," she whispered sincerely. "We did what needed to be done." The reporters began shouting questions at us now, their voices clamoring over each other in a desperate bid for our attention. "Scarlett, did you plan this?" "Celeste, how long did you know about your family's corruption?" Ignoring them, Celeste and I exchanged a quiet, meaningful glance. The truth was out, and there was no going back. Finally, Celeste turned to address the reporters, her voice clear and resolute. Today wasn't just about exposing corruption, it was about justice. Scarlett, and I refused to let fear silence us. The flashes intensified. Tabitha squeezed my shoulder gently, proud and reassuring. "You just changed everything, Scarlett. This will be remembered for years." As the chaos continued around us, I felt a powerful sense of peace settle over me. This was never just about revenge or Jackson's betrayal. It was about making things right. And standing amid the ruins of a shattered cake, I knew we'd done exactly that. 6 months after the scandal, Celeste and I stood proudly outside our newly opened bakery, Sweet Endings and Beginnings. The name shone brightly above us, freshly painted letters reflecting in the morning sunlight. The former Griffin building was transformed, gone were the imposing columns and cold marble facade, replaced with vibrant murals painted by community members and welcoming signs inviting everyone inside. "I still can't believe we did it," Celeste said softly, smiling at the sight of families already coming in and out, laughter echoing gently down the street. "I can," I replied, warmth spreading through me. We took something broken and rebuilt it into something beautiful. The bakery was thriving, more successful than ever. But what meant even more was the community center we had built alongside it. It offered job training, daycare, and support for families displaced by Jackson and Celeste's former family's greed. Every time someone walked through the doors, it felt like justice in action. As we watched, Tabitha and Rhea joined us, Rhea proudly wearing her chef's coat and Tabitha smiling confidently, holding paperwork for another community project. "You two ready for another busy day?" Tabitha asked warmly. "Always," I answered, deeply grateful for their unwavering support. Just then, my smile faded slightly as I saw Jackson approaching hesitantly from down the street. He looked worn, far from the arrogant man who once dismissed my dreams. "Scarlett," he said softly, stopping cautiously a few feet away. "Can we talk?" I hesitated briefly, feeling Celeste gently squeeze my arm in support. Stepping forward, I faced him squarely. "What is there to say, Jackson?" He sighed, shifting nervously. "I just wanted to apologize about everything. The things I said, what my family did. I'm trying to make amends." His apology felt hollow, just a gesture to ease his conscience. I shook my head gently but firmly. "You can't just apologize and expect everything to heal. Amends mean actions, not words." He nodded slowly, looking genuinely remorseful, but I knew better than to trust appearances alone. "What should I do then?" I turned back toward the busy community center, watching families find hope again. "Make a difference for someone else. Don't do it for forgiveness. Do it because it's right." Jackson left quietly, his footsteps fading behind me. I breathed deeply, returning to my friends with renewed strength. "Are you okay?" Celeste asked softly. "I'm more than okay," I replied confidently, smiling broadly at the bustling bakery and vibrant community we'd rebuilt. "We made something incredible here. This is justice, real, sweet justice."